you for joining us, everyone, for our August discussion. We're talking today about the Pump Act and the Pregnancy Workers Fairness Act, or PWFA for short. So for those of us who don't know, what is the PWFA?
Question.
I'll go. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Unless Deanna wants to.
Nope, go for it.
It is a new law that just came out. It requires covered employers to provide a reasonable accommodation to workers' known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions, unless, of course, it causes an undue hardship for the employer. But if it does cause an undue hardship, they would have to prove it. So, you better have a very good reason for something like that. It was effective, by the way, June 27th of this year.
Yeah. Do all employers have to follow it, or is there?
Employers of with 15 or more employees is what's covered.
Okay.
Who are they're covered.
Okay. What would be some examples of reasonable accommodations?
That's Candace's jam right there.
Yeah, right there. Accommodations.
You can do modified work schedules. You can do, if the job is one where the person was up and moving around or was standing, typically you can adjust it so that they can sit, move their parking space closer to the building, additional breaks, of course, for restroom time or lactation or for eating. Anything really that you can do to help the employee to continue to do the essential functions of their job and remain healthy is what you would look for as an HR person. And this process is very similar to the ADA interactive process. So the employer doesn't mandate, HR doesn't mandate what the ADA, what the accommodation will look like, but instead we discuss it with the employee and allow us to come to an agreement on what the accommodation will look like.
And I'd like to throw out there, Candice, as well. It's the only difference that I could see, or I think that's out there right now. With this new law, you can temporarily suspend one or more essential job functions. That is different than the ADA. So, and it can go up to 40 weeks or even further than 40 weeks. So it's definitely something that has been put in place to protect workers.
Yeah, and if I'm an employee and I feel I need an accommodation due to my pregnancy, what should I do?
Talk to your HR people.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have one. I mean,
Yeah.
in a small with our small businesses, of course, they don't necessarily always have internal HR. If they use us, they can call us. But they would start with their manager and have a conversation. I think going back to Candace's point, it's not like, the company doesn't say, like, if somebody goes to their manager and they're like, I'm not able to stand for 8 hours at a time, it's not the manager's job to say, okay, well, we'll get you a chair and you can sit when you want, kind of a thing. Like, that might be the end result. We don't know, but they can't arbitrarily, just come up with whatever they think is a reasonable accommodation, and the employee can't say, I can't do this essential function and I need this as my reasonable accommodation. They can certainly, make that request, but again, that would be a conversation with the company. Like, just because they said it doesn't mean that that's actually what should or needs to happen. It still might be the end result, but it's very conversational back and forth, and trying to determine what's, the best kind of overall. So, whatever their internal reporting process is, that's where the employee should go to request an accommodation.
Yeah, so it is much like the ADA when it comes to the interactive process. So they still, do need to have that conversation, just like you said. And that's on the employer's part. I think employees, they don't have to use any magic words or anything like that to request this. They can just come out and say, here's my situation. This is what I need. What can I get for something like this? It can be as simple as that.
Yeah. It is, and the thing too to keep in mind is there are protections currently for pregnant workers, but this is another level of protection. So it's not like this stuff in some form wasn't already in play under Title VII, and Title VII, like we said, applies to companies with 15 or more employees. And if you have less than 15 employees, it doesn't mean that you don't have to do any of this stuff. I mean, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Anyway.
Yeah. And then what about the Pump Act? Is there, what is it? Is it new?
Yes.
Is it something? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's brand new, and
Yes.
that's great. So what is it? What do employers need to know? What do employees need to know? Do you think?
Well, it is new. Yes, it was put into effect December 29th of 2022, and it expands coverage for employees. When the ACA back in 2010, when they had theirs, when that went into effect about the breast pumping information, they only designated non-exempt employees. So now it also includes exempt employees. So it even goes, goes further than that. It talks about breaks, it talks about space, private places. And it also even goes as far as telling employees that if they find that their employer is not abiding by this, the employer has, it's called a 10-day cure period, whereby the employer can make it right. If, based upon, whatever they need, a place to express their breast milk.
And then I read, when reading up a little bit about this, that so a not okay space is a bathroom. That's not okay. And I feel like that, maybe I might be speaking out of turn, I'm not in HR, would be like the go-to. Well, here you have a door that locks, it's a private space, but it's a bathroom. So what if I'm an employer, but I don't have an employee on my team that's currently pumping? Do I need to have a dedicated space? What would be an example of a dedicated space? Do I need to have it available all the time, only part of the time? How does that work?
There are a lot of specifications to give employers clarity around what type of space can be used. It is not one that has to be available all the time if it's not needed. But you do have to have enough space for multiple people if needed. So you want to look at, the employer would look at, what's accessible in the room. Is there a sink where the mom can wash her hands or wash utensils? Is there electricity for her to plug the pump in? Is there a table so that she can place her pump on something besides the floor? Is it private space where coworkers nor outsiders can easily come in? So there are a lot of variables that need to be looked at, but it can very simply be a conference room space with a locked door that can have a tag on it that says in use. So there are ways to simplify it while making sure that you cover the parts that are most important for the mom.
And remote employees are covered as well, because they have to also be shielded from any kind of video surveillance whatsoever. So keep that in mind. It includes all employees when it comes to that, remote employee.
Really interesting too, Denise, about the camera space, making sure, even if it is in the workplace, if it's a place that's very secure and has cameras everywhere, like in the conference room area, you would want to make sure that access was cut off so that mom truly has a private space. And then the other component of it is time. And one mom may need 2 25-minute breaks, and another mom may need 4 20-minute breaks. So each person is taken individually and determine what they need as an accommodation. And those should be evaluated and not, we only do two 15-minute breaks for this. And then the components of payment are also in play. What do you provide typically for breaks, paid or unpaid, for your employees, and how that then will apply also to the mom that needs time to express milk.
Yeah, and the thing here with this one versus the PWFA that we talked about before, the first one, the PWFA is only, well, I guess technically only for companies with 15 or more employees, but the Pump Act is essentially everybody because it falls under the Fair Labor Standards Act. And for the most part, that covers everybody. I mean,
there were a few weird caveats, like
yeah,
I'm people that are on airplanes working, a few other
Yeah.
things that were carved out, but by far the majority of employers would need to comply with this.
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And that means even creating a policy to add to their handbook and that kind of thing. And, you know, maybe even having that available, that policy and maybe a process or a procedure or space information available separately for nursing mothers so that they can have that readily available. And it's not a burden for them to get to the space that they need.
Yes. That's another piece of this act, if I'm not mistaken, the distance between where the mom works and how far they have to travel to get to this available space. If they have to walk for 20 minutes to get there, then that's going to be a problem. So making sure that it really is an accommodation in multiple ways for the comfort, the support of that mom.
Yeah, and speaking of accommodations, I think now that both of these have gone into effect, I mean, they're both actual, in place. Now's a good time to train managers on how to handle these situations. I mean, you don't want the liability of someone, getting upset with an individual that needs an accommodation and have them say, well, you're taking too many breaks, because now there is an unlimited number of breaks, and you don't want them saying something like, well, how many is it going to take? Or, hurry up and get back. You don't want that. So now is a perfect time to train.
My gosh, yeah, could you imagine? That would be horrible.
Yes.
The other part is, I mean, this is probably, I don't know. It's weird that this even has to be a law, like that we, that's the kind of annoying part. I mean, there's, that there had to be a federal law place to be able to allow mothers to feed their children. Because if you think about a mother with maybe a 5 or 6 year old that forgot their lunch at school, and the mother said, I need to go so my kid can eat, they wouldn't be like, no, don't feed your kid, right?
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put
not.
it.
It's so weird.
Exactly. Makes total sense.
I don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
But like
Anyway,
you say, yeah.
No, I agree, Deanna. It's like good human. It's a good human law.
Yeah,
right.
It goes back to that.
That's why, like, I mean, we can say eligible employer and all this stuff, and but I mean, come on,
do the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the employer really wins when they
Yes.
do these types of accommodations. They express support and care for the employee, which gets you loyalty points and a happier employee that will work harder for the organization. But sometimes we have to, as HR people, remind our employers that that's what needs to happen.
right.
Well, another thing that needs to be that they need to think of is the posters. The posters also need to go up. And I believe you can find them out on the Department of Labor. And I think the EEOC even has them as well, and it specifically states the Pump Act on there. So, make sure that you're posting these, and you don't have to pay for them, by the way. Go to those two separate areas and just download them for free, because I have a feeling someone's going to reach out to you soon and say that they'll provide them for a cost for you. So you can get them for free.
That is one of my pet peeves, is paying for posters. I don't know. This is what ends up happening during these conversations when I'm involved. I talk about all my pet peeves, but that drives me bananas when people, like, even we in the mail will get, warning, new federal law update. You must purchase this poster for $200. I'm like, no, I'm going to get it for free from the Department of Labor or from the EEOC. And now they have them because there's so many hybrid and remote workforces. I mean, you don't even have to print them, just stick them up on your, employee portal, or, email them out or whatever it is. But yeah, that just burns me. I mean, I certainly understand maybe getting the all-in-one for simplicity's sake, but people unfortunately do get what do they call, what is it, like fear, they use the fear tactic to get people to buy stuff they don't need. But anyway, yeah. Don't pay for posters.
No,
please
don't.
Very nice.
Yes.
You don't need to pay for them.
I mean, if you want me to pull it from the Department of Labor for you, I'll do that.
Yeah. And if you go to our blogs on our website, we actually have some links about the PWFA
right.
as well. Yes. So, you know, I'm pretty sure we have the link to the free poster on
We
there.
put links to the free posters in there.
Because
for sure.
we believe in, you know, offering those things for free and not for $200. All right. Well,
anyway,
okay.
That sums up those two things.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on the?
You want to end on a non-pet peeve?
Yeah.
Anybody have something positive to share?
He's positive it was free. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
All right. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for, you know, participating.
Oh.